Stay tuned to Cardinal Television. Commotion is up next. Welcome to Commotion, where we break down the biggest stories and debates. Lighting up your feeds, social media is buzzing, and today we're diving into the controversial trends and conversations shaping the digital world. I'm your host, Elena DeLise, and the rules of Commotion are as follows. I will offer up questions and topics of discussion for our three panelists to rant, rave, and debate about. At the program's end, the panelists who offer the best arguments throughout the show will be declared the winner by yours truly. In a moment, we will be diving headfirst into the fascinating world of pop culture debates. We've got some spicy topics to discuss and an incredible group of panelists ready to share their views on viral trends. Music chart wars, celebrity drama, fashion fiascos, nothing is off limits today. Before we get started, let's meet our panelists.
My name is Mallory. I'm a media and communications major and I'm a senior.
I'm Katie. I'm also a media and communications major and I'm a senior.
I'm Colin, and this might shock you, but I'm a media and communications major.
Amazing. Now, without further ado, let the commotion begin. Our first topic is going to be about Elon Musk's controversial gesture. All right? He had sparked outrage across the internet after performing a Nazi salute. The backlash has been swift, with many calling it an offensive and unacceptable gesture. While others are defending Musk, there are others who are downplaying the incident. So with our panelist number one, what is your initial reaction to this controversy? Do you think that this incident could permanently damage Musk's public image? And social media has been divided. Some are condemning him, some others are excusing it. What do you think?
I think that the gesture was very intentional and that it really resembled a Nazi salute. And I don't think there's any excusing that. And I think that the only way for something like that to be remedied, I guess, would just be for him to take accountability for it and not brush it off. So in my opinion, I think that it was absolutely a Nazi salute, and I condemn that.
Okay. Panelist number two.
I think it's exactly the same as her. I think it's very much a Nazi salute. I know he know what he was doing. He had the face, he had the passion, and he sparked a chain reaction to a lot more people being comfortable with doing it. It's not like the Nazi people that believe on those type of thing, that type of thing is right. We're completely gone. They have been around us for a long time. It just so happened now he's put it up front. And for what? Because now everybody that knows and is educated enough to not be ignorant about this matter calls him out for it, while other people just keep excusing his actions with, oh, he just has like autism or he has this and that. Autism doesn't make you do that. So I just think the people that are excusing his actions are because they believe the same thing as him.
So you're holding him to a different standard of accountability based on what he should know?
Yes. You're telling me a man that is multimillionaire for creating diverse things within technology is ignorant enough to not know what type of gesture that is? No.
Absolutely. I completely understand. And panelist number three, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to repeat the same things, but I pretty much agree in line with what they've said. Elon Musk is a guy that definitely throws out a lot of gestures, you could say, a lot of funky gestures, but this was a bit on the nose to be excused. I've seen a lot of people online talking about people who have done some waves that could be, you know, like a little close if you cut them out or they're put out of context, but he did this twice and he did this very, it was very obvious what he was doing here, and I don't think, it was a bit too on the nose for it to be excused as anything else. So.
What does this tell us about how public figures are held accountable with the standard that we hold public figures to? We're going to start back with Colin for this one.
Yeah, well, public figures and, you know, celebrities, everything in that, they know that they're a public face. They know that they're in the limelight per se, and I think they're held to a certain standard in that position that they're in to be able to, you know, speak for what they believe in and speak for what they believe is good. And I feel like he just kind of, I don't know, not threw that out the window, but he did that intentionally, I believe, and I think he'll get the repercussion that comes with it. But I also feel like I'm not shocked to see, but I'm noticing a lot of people are kind of writing it off, and I'm seeing that too. So I think there's definitely a standard to uphold in that position, but he does a job at it. I'm not going to say if it's good or bad, but it's bad.
Yeah. So you're acknowledging the bar that needs to exist for our public figures and for celebrities, and how we hold them accountable. That bar does need to exist.
For sure.
Absolutely. Panelist number 2, what do you think?
I think that he's benefiting from cancel culture. I think that cancel culture has turned into this thing of like pointing and laughing but not doing anything about it. I think a lot of people pointed at him and told him what you're doing is wrong, but there has been any like repercussion. And this is not the first question of action he does. He has said some crazy things about trans people. He has retweeted and done a lot of crazy things before, and everybody always points and say this is wrong, but no action is ever taken towards like what he's doing. But that's also seen between any type of celebrity. They have this like case around them where it's like almost bulletproof, like people just point or throw things at them because, oh, you're doing bad, but they're still in a very high regards. Like we can see with Kanye. Matter of fact, you can see it with our own President Trump. Like, we know the things he's done, but where is he right now? He's the President of the United States of America.
So it's kind of like reminding the people who have power in our society, you're human too, and we have to hold you to that standard. I get that. Panelist number 1, what do you think?
I think it's interesting that like celebrities are put in that place where they might not be experts in certain topics, and like they might not have any knowledge in like politics or the environment or things like that, but because they're a public figure they need to talk about it because they have the position to be able to make opinions and make them widespread. So I think that, you know, Musk doing that, obviously he is very involved in like politics as he's Trump's like right-hand man right now, but I think it's really important that if he's not educated on how like that really is being shown to people, or he's not educated on like the Nazi salute or like what the Nazi, you know, ideals are and how he's like portraying them, that's something that he needs to be held accountable for, just because of solely the fact that he's in a position of power, so he's influencing millions of people. So I think that that's something that needs to be taken into account too, is that he's kind of just being extremely irresponsible with the power that he has.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things that I kind of took from you is that we need to have a widespread view and see the enduring repercussions of his actions on that day. Okay, kind of building off of that, how do you think he could come back or remedy an action like this, regardless of what his intent was? We're going to start with Kitty in the middle.
I don't think he can come back. At least for the people that are like educated on this and take it very serious, this is just not something to like play off like, oh, he did this salute, oh, he's just ignorant about it. There's no way that you went to like school who all of us, and I can probably testify that all of us grew up knowing the Nazi history and how it affected and how America had a big impact on it, on going over there and doing all this stuff. That even we continually bring up like the Holocaust, because we have like the museum and we have all this stuff, and because it's happening now in Palestine, and we're like saying that, hey, we participated like defending this Holocaust. So why are we not doing it with Palestine? There's like no way that this man is not educated enough to sit there and not know what it was, like at all. Specifically him and being involved with politics and seeing how politics are being managed at the moment. So to me, there's no way he can come back from this.
So yeah, what I'm hearing from this is that given his position in power, he should not even be granted the opportunity to come back from something that he should have known better than to do in the first place. Did I kind of hit that on the nail?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right, and I can see that. Colin, what do you have to say about that?
I actually disagree. I think he can definitely come back from this, and I think that is in part because there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of this kind of stuff happening that people kind of forget the one that happened before and move on to the next one. I feel like he's already established his character and who he is, and I feel like when I saw this, I was shocked that it happened, but I wasn't shocked that he did it necessarily, and I feel like that's kind of telling on who he's already established himself as. And with this situation, like, he still has his fans backing him and the people who will stand for him no matter what, and I feel like this is no different from those situations. So there are the people who are going to contest what he did, and they're the people who are going to keep blindly agreeing with him, and they'll keep track of the good things he's done instead of holding him accountable for any issue like this. So
Yeah.
I feel like it'll get swept under the rug like a lot of past events.
So you're
have.
pointing more to like the history of how we've seen society deal with this type of issue
Yeah.
thus far.
Yeah.
That's I can agree with that too. That is a firm point. You can't argue with what's happened. You can't argue with facts. And Mallory, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I would say for me personally, I think the only way to come back from that is holding yourself accountable. And I don't see him doing that. I don't see him taking accountability and saying, yes, this was a Nazi salute, and I understand that, that's the action that I took, and I don't think that there's any way, at least personally, that he could redeem himself from that.
All right, moving on to a different topic, you guys. Thank you for your thoughts on that. I know that isn't an easy topic. Let's talk about TikTok. The app is favorite for millions, but it's under fire with countries considering bans over data privacy concerns. This has sparked debates about security, censorship, and the future of social media. To our three panelists, what do you think about the possibility of banning TikTok altogether? Is this a necessary step for security, or is it overreaching? We're going to start with Colin this time.
All right, well, I feel like I have a unique take on this because I actually never used TikTok. And, it's kind of a weird topic because it's sort of like you could take the approach that it's like stopping free speech and stuff like that. But there are also, I think reasons for it. But as far as the whole ban went, I think a lot of what did happen, and maybe I'm taking a step further, but I think it was largely a publicity stunt with it going down for 14 hours, I believe, and the way the messaging was conveyed about thanking the president for bringing it back and stuff like that. So I feel like in large part, could it happen again and permanently? Yes, but what happened previously, I think, was just a piece of publicity and a stunt more so than anything else. So.
I can see that. I can. I think what Colin was referring to, I was on the app, and there was a message. I don't know if you panelists are going to bring it up. As soon as the app came back online for the United States, and it said we would like something along the lines of we would like to thank President Trump for helping us get the app back, and there was a lot of gratitude towards him as a president, and it seemed a little bit biased. So just kind of seeing that the influence it would have there, it kind of pointed to the resounding influence that social media can have in general, just from a simple message like that. So I definitely agree with where you're coming from. Kidian, what do you have?
I definitely think it's a political stunt. They was thanking the same president that actually was the one that moved forward the TikTok ban. So it was kind of contraproducing, the fact that he was the one that wanted TikTok ban, but then he was the one that brought it back less than 24 hours later. It was more like, look what I did for you, because people already forgot that when he was president, he was the one pushing for the ban. So it was just like, okay, we know what you're doing, and we know that a lot of people are gonna be using this, but he's not bad because he was pushing for our freedoms. But no, I also think that banning TikTok is a 50-50. It could be good because a lot of our attention span and all that stuff will go back. But it's also very bad because that's where we get a lot of our current news outlet without it being news that are owned by political affiliations.
That's true.
It's also where we get news from other countries and what are they doing, how are they doing. When the whole Palestine thing broke out, it first came out in Twitter and TikTok. We were getting current live feed of people from other places going through different things. It's where the thing from Puerto Rico and Sudan and Congo and all these places that are currently suffering came forward. And it's where we can connect with other places to see how they're protesting peacefully or leading different type of things. So it's very important to not take that away from us.
It's a very powerful response. Thank you for that. Mallory.
I struggle with banning TikTok just because of the security aspect of it. I think there's lots of apps that are owned by companies that are stationed in China and might have ties to the Chinese government. And I don't see those being taken off of the App Store or taken off of our phones. I know a lot of people who were on TikTok ended up downloading an app called Red Note. And I'm not quite sure who owns that or where they're affiliated, but I know that's also somewhere that's in Central Asia. And it's basically another TikTok that people were using. So I think there's ways that people can access this information and have social media accounts that are affiliated with countries like China that pose the same threat that TikTok did. So I'm really not seeing where the security aspect was like the main cause. I do agree with Gideon and Colin saying that it was sort of a political stunt there. So yeah, I don't really see a reason to have it banned.
When it comes to censorship for TikTok, what does banning TikTok say about media censorship as a whole? Do you think that this is like overstepping our First Amendment right, or like keeping us from sharing our opinions, our true thoughts on what is going on in the world today in a completely freely and open way? Do you think that this oppresses that at all? Let's start with Mallory.
I think it does. I think a lot of companies right now that are social media companies are owned by private people, individuals who are associated with President Trump. And so like Meta, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, places like that are all very associated with that. And I think that makes it hard because there's obviously a stance that President Trump has that we can't really argue with over social media. Like there's one hashtag on TikTok that's like cute winter boots, where people are posting like political things that they know might get taken down if it's censored.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it pushes censorship.
Okay, gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did talk about it a little bit before. It is very censorship, but I also take it from the aspect of like freedom of the press. In our own self way, we're all little journalists that go out and report on how we're living and what we're doing and how can we help each other. I think that's like TikTok's is where a lot of the movement first started and where a lot of the movements continue to start. Mm-hmm. Even like when it was happening, the whole thing with like Black Lives Matter, they have ways to like protect yourself and protect others, but also where we're like getting together to like protest and make a movement and make a stand. So in a sense, not being able to put out so freely anymore was going around us and having to create hashtags like cute winter boots or just to show off books that we should be reading in case something happens in the country. It's very eerie and scary, and it's like basically stopping us from really expressing ourselves completely. So yeah.
I appreciate that. Colin, last answer for today?
Yeah, I definitely think it does. Like have some censorship aspects, and again, I don't use TikTok, so to tie it back around to Twitter, mm-hmm. or as they call it now, X, Elon Musk, he is the king of freedom of speech. He preaches it, and so do a lot of other people. A lot of the people who preach freedom of speech the highest love it until you go against them, until you say something they don't like. Mm. And that's where it's like, ban, block this tweet, like remove this. And I think it becomes an issue of that, like these people preach freedom of speech until that freedom of speech goes against their opinion or their view. Mm-hmm. And, that could go for both sides. So I feel like this kind of ties to that, like who gets to decide who should ban TikTok if, their reasoning is based on their own biases and stuff like that. So I think that largely plays a part here as well. Yeah.
That's extremely thoughtful and insightful. And I like these debates because it's important for us to discuss this even as a college level, because we're the next generation of people who are going to be making some of these choices ourselves. Okay? But I want to thank you all for joining us. You had great insights. But it's about that time for your one and only to announce the winner. Each of you did an amazing job. I judged you based off of evidence you provided, clarity, and how firm you were and what it is that you were saying. Mallory, you did a great job providing us a widespread perspective and talking about farsight and thinking into the future. And Colin, you were quick on your feet. Every response, every question I threw at you, you had it right there on the tip of your tongue. But I think that the winner for today is Gideon. She was resilient and passionate about each and everything that she talked about, and it was close. You guys really were neck and neck, but every single answer came from the heart, and I think that is incredibly important when we're talking about things that are so central to our day-to-day lives. So, social media is evolving. It brings new challenges, trends, and conversations. From Elon Musk's controversies to TikTok bans, these issues remind us of the power these platforms hold over our lives. That said, that is all for today's episode on Commotion. Thank you for joining me, Mallory, Gideon, Colin, and until next time, stay informed and stay connected.